Now, we've gone about 20 minutes in our show without mentioning presidential politics, which may be a record for us. We're going to shift there now. We're going to start with some new poll numbers that came out literally about 30 minutes ago. So we're going to show some of those on this screen. This is the first Marquette poll from 2015. And the first numbers we're looking at are how would you rate Governor Walker's job performance? The approval side was 41% and 56% disapprove. Important note, the last time this was polled, late last year, it was 49% favorable, 47% unfavorable, so that's a significant drop for the governor. And we also are going to look at the matchups, sort of the hypothetical matchup in Wisconsin if you had to choose between Hillary Clinton or Scott Walker. Hillary Clinton came in at 52%, Governor Walker at 40%, and that's more or less where it was the last time they polled, which was 53-41. So we're going to come back now and go through those numbers and sort of how Walker's faring on the presidential trail. And we're joined by Daniel Bice, our Watchdog columnist, and he's been looking at these numbers a little bit and will get us going.
I'm a resident Walker expert.
Our resident Walker expert. Go ahead.
The poll overall, the bottom line is, this is an alarm bell for Governor Walker. There are three things that jump out. One, that voters don't like a number of his policies. They don't like his school cuts. They don't like his UW cuts. Right. The only thing that they like is his plan to borrow money for roads. Two, they're not particularly enthralled with his presidential campaign. He's still 12 points behind Hillary Clinton. She's gotten some attention and bump because she's gotten involved in the race, but still, you would think in his home state he would be doing better than this. And then three, the voters are underwhelmed with his performance as governor. And that's probably the most significant thing that we see in this. Over the years, he's trended to be between 47, 53%, despite everything with the recalls and so forth. But then last month, there was a PPP poll that showed it dropped to 43%. And the question was that an anomaly, or was this really the case? And this seems to point to the fact that voters are not happy with Walker, spending much of his time running for president instead of being here.
Right. I mean, all of this is happening amid, the Joint Finance Committee just the other day stripped out a lot of, several of the governor's proposals from the budget. There's people wondering, is he leading on the arena when it was Scott Fitzgerald who came up with the new plan? James, do you think there's Walker's travels and these are taking a toll on his, sort of keeping tabs on what's happening here at home?
Of course it is. I mean, do we have a governor, or do we just have a pretend governor running for president?
We have two governors right now. We have
two.
We have Voss and we have Fitzgerald. They're the ones who are deciding what's going on. Right. And you're right. There are two types of stories being written these days about Scott Walker. One, where is he and what is he saying in South Carolina or Iowa? And two, what proposal in his budget are they stripping out of the budget proposal this week? Those are the two types of stories he's getting, neither of which is favorable to him.
And the fact that he's losing to Hillary in the state, that's not surprising to me, and it shouldn't be surprising to anyone. I mean, he has been absent in this state for quite some time. And I think that's telling, especially with a budget right now that people are looking at and say, whoa, all these cuts, man, what's going on? I mean, it shouldn't be surprising to anyone.
So do you think he's going to change direction, start spending more time here?
Why would he? He's running for president. I mean, he's trying to generate as much money as he can. And, but what we just learned with him creating this PAC that was just created for him, I mean, all he's doing is just creating as much money as he can so he can run for president. I mean, it makes sense.
Well, I think he has to do something because he can't look like an absentee governor. So even though he's got a number of speeches lined up, there's got to be some concern with this poll going out, because the message is going to be that people aren't happy with this presidential run here, and it's not going to look good for him if he continues to trail against Hillary Clinton. Now, saying that, Hillary Clinton performed very well against President Obama back in 2007 throughout the year, and then when it really counted, Obama took over and he ends up winning by 17-18%. So this is just a snapshot of where things are today. It's not some sort of prediction about where things are going to be next year.
Let's look at, there was some other numbers in that poll that we didn't show, but among Republicans, their choice, probably not surprising, Walker 40%, Rand Paul's
at 10%, and then just a scattering of other people. That's probably not surprising. No. The previous polls had included Paul Ryan, who Ryan had actually performed better against Clinton than Walker
He
had.
was, people preferred Ryan versus Walker when we're given this menu of Republicans were asked, well, who do you most want to see run? And they said, well, Ryan.
And
that's
Ryan
Scott
has to be
Walker.
kicking himself for not getting in this race. I mean, he, out of all the people, he's thinking to himself, why didn't I run?
No. Ryan is thrilled that he's not a part of
Are
this
you
circus.
serious? No, he would want to be in this race right now. If he had it to do all over again, he would be in this race because he would be doing far better than Walker, don't you think?
The problem for Walker is he's an executive, he's an administrator who's running a state. It's easy for Ryan to run for another office while being in Congress, but he has a major position overseeing the budget right now. So first of all, I think Ryan enjoys the job he's doing. We all knew that Walker was he's always looking to the next job. So that's a significant difference
Well, we
between the
should
two.
note, I mean, you don't run for president of Wisconsin, so it's more important for him probably where are his poll numbers nationally, and he seems to be doing still well in New Hampshire and Iowa.
And
the key
this is
places,
this two-track thing that's been going on for now 2 months, which is he performs extremely well nationally, and he's not doing so well at home. And I don't know how you deal with that, how you end up balancing those two things.
Well, you deal with it the way he's been dealing with it. You continue to run a national campaign and you don't worry about the state. And with the state having as many problems as it's having right now, I mean, he should be called on the carpet for it.
Another number in there, at first blush look at the potential Feingold Ron Johnson rematch from 4.5 years ago. Feingold 54%, Ron Johnson 38%. First, are we going to see this rematch, and what to
Sure,
make of those
Feingold's going to run. Right now he's taking some time out to go teach, but everybody expects him to run. The other candidates who were thinking about running, Ron Kine, Gwen Moore, Chris Abele, even, they've all backed off. This is going to be a Feingold Johnson race. What these numbers show is that Johnson has not done a great job of advertising himself and getting his name out there over the recent years. He bragged a lot about how much money he raised in the first quarter, 1.3 million, but I hear Republicans internally had hoped the figure would be closer to 3.5 million. So he's got a lot of work to do. The election's very different than the first time he ran against Feingold. When he ran against Feingold, it was a non-presidential year. This year next year will be a presidential year. So the dynamics change, and he's got to do something to get his name out there with the voters.
Okay. Last, quickly before we move to our reader questions, Scott Walker made the pledge or promise, just that he wouldn't, formally enter the race until after the budget is done. Does that help him, hurt him? Does it really matter at this stage, given how he's doing on the presidential level?
I think it's not a bad thing for him. I mean, some people might be saying, he's got to wait until now, May, June, whatever. But he's getting a lot of attention nationally. He doesn't need to get into the race and get the oxygen or the bump that comes with that. Some of these other candidates who are getting in do need that because they've fallen into the second tier of candidates, and you get 2 or 3 days of coverage, and that's very helpful to you. On the other side, you have Hillary Clinton, who's decided to get involved, but that's, I think, mainly to start fundraising, and 2, to start responding to the critics, because as soon as, for the last month, she's been being hit by people from all directions. This allows her to become more aggressive in responding to those individuals.